All right, Tom. So we just hosted NinjaRMM second annual MSP Security Summit. You and I were talking about it. It was a great summit. There's tons of good sessions. We had four key takeaways. The first takeaway, security expertise no longer optional. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, you used to be able to kind of put some antivirus in and a good router firewall and be done. Those days are over. You need to be something to some degree of a security provider or coordinating the other security elements that are brought in from the outside.
Yeah, I think a great quote from that was from Alex Fields. He said, "You can't outsource your responsibility for IT security as a provider. You got to find a way to cover it yourself or get someone who can help who can." Takeaway number two: security is not purely a technical problem. This is great. I love this takeaway because it came from easily the most technical session on the summit.
Yeah, the big thing that I was left with, John Hammond was analyzing Ryuk and Universal Health Services hack. And the most interesting thing to me was that started with the phishing campaign and moved laterally through the network. So probably didn't even start with administrative credentials. Just shows you it's the small stuff that really matters.
Yeah, and speaking of small stuff, the key takeaway number three, the basics are beneath us. I mean, this is one thing. We had Tyler Hudak from Trusted Sec. He's an incident response provider. He gets called in when things go bad. He's worked with MSPs. He says a lot of times it comes down to the simplest thing. Number one being RDP exposed, right?
It was great. He said, well, it still sticks with me. If RDP was open, it was RDP. And you know what ends up? As you pointed out, MSPs out there, they claim left and right, they don't have RDP open. They often have it open somewhere. Someone opened it at a convenience. That's usually the culprit if you have an attack and someone gets through.
It's great to check the boxes, but you got to go back through and double check, actively audit. Uh, Key takeaway number four, having a plan, not good enough. It's like Mike Tyson put it, right? Everyone's got a plan until they get punched in the mouth.
That's right. It's one thing to have an incident response plan. It's one thing to have a provider for it. But if you do, you need to test that out. You need to come up with a scenario and make sure everyone does their parts. You have the right professionals in place. You have the right response that you can deal with this when it happens.
That's right. When everything is going down and it's on fire, there's a lot of tensions. There's lawyers, there's insurance. You got to have things drilled to make sure you can actually run it through. Tom, it was a great summit. We hope that you check out the post that we wrote with more takeaways and they go into more detail about the summit and the experts involved. And we hope you also join us for MSP live chats, which we host every other Thursday. A lot of great topics for MSPs about growing their business.